picked up a book and it shows the, like in your Model A books and stuff, and it'll show a body design that shows it coming over and down like that, and then like this to narrow to the cow. And you got to have them lines in that body or the door will never shut in 100 years. I know the first couple of these that I ever worked on, I couldn't figure out why I kept working with the door, and it wasn't the door. It was the side of the body wasn't right. So anytime you get into one and you're working on a door, like in the Chevys, the early Chevys up into the 30s, and you always see them doors, they're hanging this way and they won't shut at the bottom, and it's usually the body has shifted one way or the other. One door is gapped on the bottom and the other side of the car is gapped on the top. But what you need to do is bring that body back up to, well, say square, again. And then you've got that part whipped, and then on the Chevys, you got to, the best thing to do with them is take the doors off and re-wood them and put these new door posts in the front. Printer all the early Chevys, them posts are, and there's no shimming them, and there's no gluing them up, and there's just nothing you can do to them. These hot rodders, they love them, and every one of them's got a sagging door. I mean, they got this great big old door about this long hanging on a wooden post, and it's been there for 40, 50 years. And I did one for a guy down at Malvern. And he says, if we can get in there, can't you just cut a little bit out here and block this up and do this and this and that? And I says, we probably could, but I said, you probably still have the same thing that you got right now. I said, you'd have a bag and door. So we redone the doors and redone them posts and straightened up his body a little bit, and he had a nice fitting door. But the doors can be probably the toughest item on the car, is to get them to fit. And you try to put them on, and then if you got to do any welding or anything, then do it while they're on the car. At least get it all tacked up good and tight to where it'll hold until you get it off, and then you can cut out your rust and do your rust repair. Anybody got any questions? I need some help. Besides that, I'm getting a horse. Yeah.
You talked about when you straightened that frame for the guy's car, you just jacked it up to position, or did you over-jack it? Because after they've taken a set for a little while, they tend to sag again. Did you go beyond the point?
You have to go beyond.
Yeah.
On his, I bet we went 2 inches beyond. It was that, I never seen a frame so bent in my life. It must have been on a hay wagon for 100 years. I've found out on axles and straightening axles that I've went as much as 1.5 inches or 2 inches beyond. And just on an axle, where I used to work at, they had a great big hydraulic press, and we could put them in standing up. And I would use I'd put a dowel in the string pin, or dowel in the kingpin holes, and then put a string on them where I could watch them, and then just put them in that press. And I had one old Model T axle, and I'll bet you that thing, and I never seen anything that could take so much bending, and pretty soon you just kept hitting it and let it relax, and hit it and let it relax, and pretty soon that thing come out, it was as straight as a die. Craig, he's got one we got to do. It's for on that Cadillac. It's sweat on.
Yeah.
We was talking about it, so I said we'll have to. It was they said what they call it, furnace.
No, that's on the Stanley.
On the Stanley.
For the furnace welds.
Furnace weld.
Where they would take the 2 pieces of metal and flux them, put on a powder flux, slide everything together, and put it in a furnace. Heat it up to temperature, everything would melt, and then you had your seam there. So you have a piece of 2, 3, 4 inch piece of metal that's brazed from the inside onto these onto the axles, and it can give you a few problems. In fact, Model T pans where the ears come off, you always, whenever you clean them up, you see all that goopy braze all over the place. Those are furnace welds that they used to do on there, and it was a way of not only brazing it, two pieces of metal together, but on something like that it formed a seal to keep the oil from coming out.
Yeah, they mixed the brass with the flux, and they painted that on there. Then they riveted them. Then they run them through the furnace. And then when they come out, they were all welded in together as one piece. I've had guys bring me an oil pan and said, "Man, that thing is all brazed up. I never seen so much brass on it." But they did. They had a lot of brass in that.
Another problem you may run into with some of the early cars, the Maxwell that I'm working on, some of the trim has been put on, nails have been put in, and then they let it over the holes to hide the screws or whatnot. And you can use putty, you can use about anything, but eventually they're going to pop on you and ruin your paint. Now, I've had some success. They're selling that new aluminum rods. Have you seen the fellow that welds all or brazes all kinds of cans and everything together at Hershey? And it's a low enough temperature that you can dab in on it. You have to use aluminum screws and your aluminum trim, and you can just go along and spot all those in. I've had pretty good success, and nothing's popped on me yet. I'm not a lead person. Are you? Well, that's what we need, is a leading seminar. That's another art.
I don't like lead, period. You get it in your bloodstream, and you don't have to worry about it anymore anyway.
And I make money and can buy more cars.
I was up to Cleveland. They do a lot of classic cars and stuff up there in this restoration shop, and they only use lead is where the guy specifies it has to be. That's the only thing he wants. He has to have it leaded, and then they'll lead it. But they only use glass. Rolls Royces and everything is glass. Or any of these restoration shops you go in, your glass seems to have more flexibility too, and so if it cracks, you don't have that much of a problem to fix it. If you got a lead, you got to take the upholstery out and everything and start all over again. But, yeah.
The wood rails, like on the unit you have there, if they are rotted and badly deteriorated, before you replace those, you put them on a jig, put the whole thing on a jig and make a jig before you take them out?
What I do, I use a frame as my jig. But you can take 2 or 3 sheets of 3/4 plywood and screw it together and make yourself a jig. And then you can set it on, 2 or 3 sawhorses. You have to have something where the thing is going to stay absolutely flat. Because if the front end bows down or the back end bows down, say if it only bows down a 1/16 of an inch, till you get up here, you got a 1/4 of an inch to contend with. So everything I build on a frame. I try to, if I do a Model A body, I do quite a few of them for guys. I do it up to put the wood in and get the primer on, and then they take them home and finish them. But I bring in a Model A frame that I've got straightened, and I set it on there, and I put all the wood blocks under it, and I bolt it down. And then if it's got bad sills in it, then I get in there and I take the sills out, and I weld in the new ones, and drill the holes, and as I'm going, and I bolt that piece down. And then you bring your body's just hanging there, looks like a silk curtain, Well, then you bring that up to it and jack it up and get it straight and make it so you can stand and look at it and see that the thing has got to be straight. You set it on a set of sawhorses, it's straight, and then you can start and take and cut it out, and then weld in your panels. And every time you put a panel in it, the Model A bodies, just remarkable how stiff they get. Every time you put a weld on it, it's hard to believe that you started out with something so shaky, and it'll end up, it'll get as solid as it does.
You referred to this quick poly that you used in your doors in there. Is that two-part stuff in there that is like water that you dump together into a liquid, and you pour it in and it sets up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I take and go and get duct tape. Make yourself
Some dam.
Make yourself a dam wherever you need it, you know.
Yeah.
And then pour it in there. And leave it set. And once I get these done, you can slam these here. They'll sound as good as Bill Pruse's Lincoln back there. He's asleep.
You take your turnbuckle back off and after
You can take the turnbuckle back off.
Because I've seen them pull up with their turnbuckles, leave the turnbuckles on.
Oh yeah, we've left them in. You always, if you leave them in, you always got a little bit of adjustment there.
I went through a session with that on a 28 Buick doors in there. I didn't have to re-wood them. The wood was in there and solid, but you know, the joints would get a little loose and they'd be kicking out at the bottom, and I put turnbuckles on them and so forth, and I was able to pull them all back except the driver's door, and they have a
That's
toolbox. The whole door is full of tools in there, so all you got is a frame around the outside, so you couldn't put a turnbuckle or anything in there. And I never have found a way to hold that out without taking and re-wooding the whole thing and getting it solid.
Something like that there, you could, if you could get it shut once, and then put that tape on it and tape it all up good, and then put that quick poly in there, and you can mix it up with sawdust or whatever if you need more volume. And I usually do just 2 or 3, 4 ounces at a time, like 2 ounces of each, and then let that start setting, then I do another coat and another coat, so one coat will penetrate the next one. And a lot of times too, I use that if you're tearing a body apart and you got some punky wood. I get them little 10-cent brushes by the boxfuls, and I paint that wood a couple coats and let it penetrate, and then take it apart, and that'll hold your pattern together.
What's this quick poly? That's not epoxy?
Yeah, it's a two-part.
Clear epoxy.
Yeah, it just looks like water. When you pour it out, it just, and they give you little shot glasses, and you can mix it up, and it has to be equal amounts,
I work with that recipe.
and then it'll set up.
RSP is.
RSP.
Yeah.
The guy sits up right at Hershey, right?
Carlisle.
Carlisle, I
In
mean.
the center,
Yeah.
in the
Right in the
racetrack
center.
area, right in the main drag, right straight through, right about the middle of the racetrack area.
Well, we can buy, there's a chemical company in Cleveland where we can buy that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
By the pint can.
right. You can buy pints,
Makes it
quarts,
pour.
or half gallons.
Yeah.
Where do you put this quick poly? In that door?
In the bottoms of the doors. And then that way, once that's in there,
I'm on
there'll
the
never
second
be no
part.
more water ever get into the bottom of that door.
It's on the west.
Because that's what ruined the door in the beginning, was the wood laying against
I
the
use
door.
a lot of epoxy.
So once that's all back in there again, and then that quick poly's in there, there's no gap there for any water or dirt or anything to get down in there. Because I've even got doors out of Montana that was rotted out in the bottom. And out there, nothing rots, but they rotted simply because that piece of wood was in there. That's like getting a body out of the tree line in South Dakota. If it was sitting in where the windbreaks are at, and the body got full of leaves, when you pick it up, the bottom of the body's gone. But if the body was sitting up off the ground 6 inches, it'd sit out there for 500 years and never rust. But if the dirt, or any place the dirt can get in there, then the dirt and the leaves and the twigs and stuff like that, they'll hold moisture.
Closely related to the quick poly is the paste. I guess you use plenty of that, I suppose.
Yeah. I use a lot of the, my other favorite tool is J.B. Weld. The other guy he was talking about.
I use that too. They're small.
Yeah. Like if I've got a body panel and somebody drilled a hole in it, say in the middle of a nice panel, or it got a bullet hole in it. I take and straighten that out, put a piece of tape on the inside, and then take JB weld on there, put it on, leave it set for 3 or 4 hours, and take the body grinder and grind it off and paint it.
We're still talking about epoxy.
Yeah.
Yes, 2 tubes.
Yeah. I mean, I could go up there and make it, or I could go up there and braze it. Well, then, what would you have? You'd have a little nipple right there where it, where you heated it, and so you take and put that JB weld on there, and fill that 1/4-inch hole or whatever you got. You know how when you get a car and the firewall's full of drilled holes. You know, like Model A's, they drill a hole in the firewall for every reason in the world, you know. And just tape them up and take and clean it good, sand it off, and make it rough or give it something to bite. And then JB weld it and sand it off and prime it and paint it.
You don't get a ring around where it was or anything?
The only time you get a ring, you'll see guys' cars and they got a ring, is where they never primed it. They think one coat across and that primer's gonna do it. But when you're doing fiberglass, it seems like that three or four coats of primer is soaking into the fiberglass. Well then, and if you sand that real good, and then put a couple more coats on it, and then sand it, and then you have to always use sealer on your, before you paint a car. I seal everything before I paint. It's just waste of money. You go out and spend $200 worth of paint, and you didn't buy that $30 worth of sealer, and put a couple good coats of sealer on that body, and that plastic is softer than metal. And you'll see that ghost in the side of their paint.
What about splicing? You ever have any luck with splicing pieces where you can't tear out a whole, if you're not taking out, doing the whole body?
It can be done. If I had a body that was, say, it only needed a couple pieces spliced in, it would definitely get spliced.
You know, like up in a 4-door sedan or a 2-door sedan, you get up in the roof rails, some of those pieces, those metal pieces that fold around above the doors up on the roof, they go from front to back.
Right.
And usually where those cars will rot is up above that first pillar.
Right above the door.
You can get in there, usually when you have the top off, the soft top off, you can get in there enough to maybe cut it and splice it. Have you ever done anything like that?
Usually what I do there, I take and layer it. Instead of using cutting it out and putting one thick piece in, well then you'll cut it and maybe step it. And put layers in there.
Because it tends to come down anyway towards the front.
And something like that, you can layer it in square and then take a body grinder and form it.
You build any new bodies, for instance, where somebody's brought you new sheet metal like from Root Lever or something, and if so, have you had any trouble fitting to their steel panels? Are the steel panels always pretty good to work with?
Pretty close. I use a lot of stuff that Hal makes. And when he gets a little bit off of what I like, I call him up and tell him about it. And he'll because he has a tendency to get wide, especially on that back panel.
In the back of the front seat.
Yeah. And this panel right here is always wide. But if you know your measurement, then you can always take and make the metal fit. You know, a little bit of bend in here and a twist there, and a little grind in here and there. You can make it fit. But for the most part, his stuff is pretty close. He made these here in this here panel, and they were right on the button.
He's located in Texas.
No, Texas.
No, Texas. How? Is it H-O-W-E?
Yeah, he makes a lot of panels, but he jobs a lot for them Gilmores. It's in California. Them Gilmores, from what I understand, they can make anything. I'd like to see what kind of a setup they had. It'd be nice to have them guys for one of these demonstrations.
Speaking about special work, Rootley has made some fenders for me in the past. They made a complete set for my Maxwell years ago, but they just finished, I bought the remains of a 16 Cadillac from Larry. He still laughs at me buying it. But I just sent out the rear fenders, and they're a pretty good size. It's a, you know how big his 15 is, so the 16 Cadillac's about 6 inches wider, and so because of that, the fenders are a little bigger too. But I sent 2 fenders I spliced together, made one nice pattern, mailed them out to him. Within 3 months, I received back 2 absolutely perfect rear fenders for that Cadillac. The contours, everything were exact. He charged me $250. Now, first of all, you couldn't get a body man to straighten one fender for $250 a fender. And so
I send out the Rube Light and get the, I guess you'd call it half round moldings that they use on the early roadsters and stuff. And he makes all that stuff in aluminum.
if you ever, Tom is the one to talk to out at Rootley, Tom Rootley. He's the son. I think, in fact, I think his father just passed away a month or 2 or this past summer. But he's the one to talk to, and I can't say enough about the work that's come out of there.
Is it Rootley where you get that half-round molding?
Yeah. And I believe they have it in brass too.
You have to heat that to form it, to bend it around the
No,
car?
cold form.
The brass,
Okay.
too?
The aluminum I cold form.
Yeah, the brass, you have to.
I never got into any brass.
I busted one.
If the brass is good and soft, it'll turn too.
Okay.
Like on them Model T Roadsters that uses that piece,
Right.
they bend down this way, and then you have to turn them a quarter of a turn, then they make a horseshoe.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then they come down and go clear around to the back. And I had one little tiny crack right by a screw where I'd put a screw in as I'd bring it.
I have a 1912 Buick Roadster. They use seems like wood, but it acts more like grapevine.
Yeah.
That's what it is. If you ever have to, if you're ever doing a wood body, go to a basket weaving shop where these people sell
Okay.
the supplies, and you can buy all that half-round molding. You soak it in water, and you can tack it on your body. When you get it, it's pretty stiff, but you soak it in water, it comes out like spaghetti. You can form your whole body. This is what the
Right.
body builders used to use, and it was like some kind of what is it? Not a.
It's white oak.
What are they?
It's not a reed.
It's a reed of some sort. I forget what it is.
Okay.
That's the best place to get it, is a basket supply shop where they sell the wicker, and then you can get it 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Wet it, tack it on. Once it dries, if you take it off of there, it would keep whatever shape you made. Fill it in.
Oh,
That's what it is. It's, yeah.
Like on the tops of these bodies, they have a tack strip on the early bodies.
to protect the upholstery.
Yeah, and
Now,
that,
this is a
that's
decorative,
bent.
what I had was a
Yeah.
half round molding, but I would say it was about 1/2 inch.
This
Yeah,
here's
that's what
about
you-
5/8 square, it goes around here.
Well,
And,
but that's to protect the upholstery
right.
fast.
I take
Mine was a
them,
wood body, 1912 Roadster had a wood body, 2-seat. It wasn't bucket form, it was just straight across. Then I had trouble keep paint on it. I used to put automotive primer on it, and that would let go, and everybody said, well, you should have known better than that. And what did you use? Well, I used lacquer. Well, anybody knows better than that. So then I painted with the enamel, it came off. What did you use? I used enamel. Well, you should have used lacquer. So whatever I used was wrong.
The best product
The
ever.
best thing to put on a wooden body, if you're gonna paint it,
Yeah,
is feather fill.
I've heard of it, I've never used it.
Well,
Take
that-
and spray it with feather fill, and then sand it down, and then prime it.
Yeah, that or
It's like
prepare.
polyester primer.
I've heard of Prepare Coat.
Preparacoat is an old product that DuPont puts out. It's a pain to sand. It's like sand and cement.
That's why
But-
feather fill's like sand and cement.
But it's, I don't even know if they still make it or not. I bought some, and if you keep it open too long, it'll sour on you, but it's called Preparacoat. It's
Yeah.
probably
You can
the
buy
best
Preparacoat.
wood, do they still sell it? If you're going to do a wood body,
Yep.
I think it's the best. If you're gonna use now, I've never used the Preparacoat, so I can't say.
On a these here wooden bodies like depot hacks and stuff where I want the natural finish, I use zip guard on them.
That's natural finish.
Your natural finish.
Yeah, I put red paint on mine. So.
They aren't, most of your polyurethanes aren't, I would say waterproof. You know, they aren't really an exterior finish, but they'll say they're an exterior finish. But it's the ease of refinishing them. Because if you put polyurethane on, and once you get it on there, then all you got to do, if the finish starts to dull or it needs redone or it checks a little bit, then all you got to do is take a zip sand that they sell with it. It's a liquid.
Okay.
And you take and do what you can do in 20 minutes. You soak that down real good. And that softens the polyurethane, put another coat on it, and it looks like you've done it original.
Will you finish your comment about your 5/8 square tack strip, what
Okay.
you use for that?
Probably the best thing to do if you need 4 pieces is to make 10.
I was hoping you were gonna give me an easier way. I've already done that.
Okay. White oak or hickory works the best. I usually soak them a couple of days in some water. I've got like a piece of rain trough that I made, and I put them in that.
You start out with green lumber?
No, kill dried. Kill dried's dry, so if it's green, it's full of water, it's not going to sort. So if you use kill dried, then it'll suck that water into it, and that's what it has to do to be able to bend it. And a piece of 5/8 square is at least 8 hours of cooking.
You soak it in heat.
In hot water.
I take I got a camp stove with a 20-pound tank on it. And I set her on there, and I seal that up just so that the steam will come out the one end. Because otherwise all you're doing is boiling the water away, and every half an hour your water's all gone. And I seal that up and put her on the camp stove and just let her cook. Then get a pair of heavy hot mill gloves and a pair of tongs and pick them out of there, and you put it on and have your wife do the clamping. And my wife, she does the clamping. They don't get you got to be in a hurry, but you don't force it. You let the clamp do the work. The clamp has to be bringing it back all the time. If you push it back, you'll break it off. You probably found that out already.
Yeah, and I found out you don't use ash either.
No, I won't.
Oh, God.
If you need, you can put some Bo Peep ammonia in it, in the water too, and that helps the penetration a little bit.
So does a little.
Don't be afraid to cook it though. I usually get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and put it on, and then along about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll do the bending. Let it cook all day. Garage will stink like crazy.
Do you have a steel strap on the outside to help push it down and keep the clamps from making a mark?
No, I clamp it to the body as I'm going around.
Oh, I see.
Most of the bodies has got a lip on the top.
Yeah.
So then you can pull it over and you can pull it up with your clamps.
Okay.
You have to have in a 4-foot piece, you'll have to have probably 7-8 clamps. Use lots of clamps, and if you've got a sharp bend, maybe use a couple or 3 clamps to make that bend as you're going. But the longer you